I'd like you to meet Beatrice Wade. Bea, we've gone through the fact that you have a marvelous reputation in OT, but how did you become an occupational therapist?
By sort of accidental, I would say. When I went to the University of Iowa after high school, I had studied very hard in high school, and my cousin and I decided we'd have a good time in college. And we had to take basic liberal arts subjects. Our science could be a light one or a heavy one. And we registered for the wrong course. So I got into a pre-medic course in zoology. And it went up as far as whittling calves' heads, as far as anatomy was concerned. But we got through it, but it did open some areas. However, I had originally wanted to be either a nurse, and my uncle, who was a doctor, said no. And then I wanted to be an interior decorator, and I had to go to New York for that, and Mother thought it was a wicked city, so I couldn't go. So I went into my sophomore year taking all the requirements for liberal arts and continuing for an AB degree. And I accidentally met Jenny K. Allen, who was a graduate of the Art Institute of Chicago and a Henry B. Fable School graduate. And she had a course, she was just beginning in occupational therapy and was ready for students. It was conducted within the Hospital for Crippled Children at the university, which was headed by Arthur Steiner. Anyone in that field knows Dr. Steiner, a very dear man, who supported her and wanted her to develop a course. She taught us theory. She taught us minor crafts. She supervised us as we were working with little children in Dr. Steiner's department. The other courses were in the university, either in the art department, home economics, science. So of course, we had psychology and abnormal psychology and child psychology. So we had quite a good foundation. In those days, it seems, that if one developed a course, Mrs. Eleanor Clark Slagle would come and visit, and she would wave her wand, and it was accredited. Of course, I didn't think this was particularly important, but Miss Allen did. There was no psychiatry in Iowa, so I was sent into Chicago for a course. It was at Chicago State Hospital, and the course had been organized by Eleanor Clark Slagle, and in the days when she was introducing occupational therapy to the state hospitals of Illinois, which was very, very early, as you know, in 1916. And the head of the program was a very sedate, charming person. And I began talking at home about OT and so forth. Well, it was the year of King Tut, it was the year that they first began to excavate his area. And my brother, who said, "Oh, OT, old Tuts." Well, when I came into Chicago for psychiatry and I looked at these charming ladies, I thought, well, he was right, you know, because anyone over 25 years old, because I was about 20, should be on the shelf. And so that all came back to me this year when we were all looking at Tut and his treasures. It was, I finished the psychiatry, 3 months, and then the family objected to psychiatry, but we managed that, and I stayed on for 6 months and went back and earned my degree in 3 years and a semester and a summer school. And so that led to my first job.
And so actually you practiced psychiatry then, and where did you practice?
Well, Miss Allen did not have knowledge of psychiatry. That was why she sent me into Chicago. And I was fortunate in having a very, very substantial course in psychiatry and access to an excellent library in the School of Nursing there. And the doctor who taught psychiatry, you wouldn't have to change any of the concepts today. He was excellent. But so I went back, sold on the idea of psychiatry, but there was none in Iowa, and except at there was none in Iowa. The Illinois, or the Iowa Psychopathic Hospital was on the campus. And so she said, well, you can go over and talk to Dr. Samuel T. Orton about a position if you want to, but I haven't had any relationship with him. So I went over and he said, well, I have seen OT, but unless you can give me something different, I'm not sure that I want you, so if you want to volunteer, we'll see. So I volunteered during my summer school, a few hours a week. And he said, you can work with a lot of patients or one, and I worked with one. So I joined his group. It was of course, a research and educational hospital connected with the university. And I was given very gracious direction by him. I was accepted by the team, and we did have a team. That was a long while ago, but we worked as a team. In fact, that was why he was trying me out through the summer to see if I could relate to the other people there. And so it was very helpful because I was very young, really didn't know what I was doing, actually, but I got support.
How long did you do that? How long were you with him?
Well, I was there 3 years. I think one of the unusual experiences I had there was that he was a neuropsychiatrist, and he was interested in learning disabilities. And he developed a research project. I don't know who financed it, but it was a grant, in which he brought in a reading authority. Marion Monroe, and those in that field know her, and a social worker, and a psychologist, and myself, and him, and another psychiatrist. And they brought in 12 minimally brain damaged children, or children with reading disabilities, from all around Iowa. They had a mobile clinic. There were 12 of them. And they were in residence. We had a wing, emptied a wing, and they were there for the summer. 4 months, I believe it was. And so it was my first opportunity to be associated with anything in research and working very closely with this group. And I did the objective observations and concerned about handedness. And we were all tested for our hand and foot and eyedness as to whether and his concept was, when he completed it, was that there existed congenital word blindness in which there was not a dominance, cerebral dominance was not established at the early stage, and this is where these children had these reading disabilities. And Marion Monroe was able to help them to increase their reading and arithmetic so that they could be passed on to more other grades. They were problem children because they had been held, you see, in a back because they couldn't read. So that was a very exciting thing, and I loved it all. I left there. I was there 3 years, and I left because my brother's wife died, and they had 5 children. The youngest was 5 months when her mother died, and the oldest was 10. And I cared for them for over 2 years, almost 3, until he married again. So that's how I...
But you retained, actually, your interest in mental health for over all of your career. and most of it, of course, the mental health associations that you worked with locally, but you affected national change as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well,